What's good? What's good? I'm losing my voice. I don't have my microphone. I'm not getting my backlight. So, we just about to do what it do for real. I kind of like the juxtaposition of my face right now with the shadowy and the light hit it the way it's hit there. So we just gotta rock for real. It's NaNoWriMo National Novel Writing Month in about 2 hours, right? And I'm back in college. So I would say this is definitely my first NaNoWriMo while taking classes, or I would even say working, because I primarily work for myself, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. It is what it is, but I got shit going on, is basically my point. I got a more realistic life experience. The past two were so, I just looked on NaNoWriMo.com. So it's been about 2 or 3 years that I've been doing NaNoWriMo, because I recognize all the books that are there. Maybe this is the third year. I'm not really sure if it's the fourth. This might be the third year that I'm doing it. But I've done at least 2, for sure. The Routine, which is not out yet. The Crusader, The Last Crusader, which is actually originally called Crusader of Nadia. I did not know that until today. I did not remember what I originally wrote it as, but titles change. So what I'm working on now is a project called Untitled. And what the idea of this story is I don't have one. And I have 2 hours to begin writing. It's 10 o'clock. So what does an Amazon best-selling author do? Well, I'm probably not going to start writing in 2 hours. I might, possibly. Probably be better to go to sleep and get some actual rest. Might be good to read a book or something. I got a bookshelf right next to me. There's a bookshelf behind me in one of these directions, not this direction. But try to understand the perception of it. It's one of my books right there too. Right there, it's one of my books. And a painting by Diane Vera. I don't know. And I just want you to see how, relaxed I am about this, and how I'm not letting it stress me out, and how I'm not, and I don't even have an idea, I would say the last 2 years, I at least had, an inkling of what I wanted to write or work on. It might be 3 years, because I think a beautiful switch might have been a NaNoWriMo, or Why Can't We Share Him? I've written a lot during November, is all I'm going to say. But I seem very chill, because I am. I'm not really worried about it. And for the past 2 weeks, I've been thinking about this. And for last week, I think, late last week, is when I realized, my sister's birthday, is when I realized, oh shit, NaNoWriMo is next week. I was remembering to go to a fucking, dentist appointment or something. Oh, that's coming up. The kid's got a doctor's appointment. NaNoWriMo. Because I brought up the college thing, because I'm in a class now, and I have to retake English composition. I feel like I've taken English composition twice, so this will be the third time. But I've taken 4, including English composition too. I've taken at least 4 of these classes. And I'm learning more now than I ever have in the past. Something about the online setting that helps me focus a lot more while still being distracted in a way, But I'm not distracted within the presence. And plus there's recordings for you. But I'm not going to get too lost into this. But there's many people in my class. I cannot say kids because some of them are kids to me, but not all of them are kids. But there's many people in my class who find writing to be a very difficult task. And then reading, not necessarily, but reading comprehension becomes a very big deal and a very big issue brought up quite often. And I would also say that the stories, we're reading a lot of short stories. The short stories that we're reading are also just kind of like off the cuff. And I think a lot of writing is, if not most writing, is very off the cuff. I don't think you ever want to be called hackneyed or corny or cliche or this has been done before, or pornographic. But that's up to you. That's your thing. An hour and about 50 minutes now I got. And I'm really just kind of chilling. I think I'm going to work on maybe, like, I've been throwing some ideas around in my head. So to say I have no idea at all, I have like 1% of an idea, you know? I have 1% of an idea to write 50,000 words over the course of the next 30 days. And I have 1% of that idea, and that is that I named it Untitled. Yeah, I did that. I did that thing. 20 books down, that's what I did, man. I got 20 books published. That's how I started this off. I feel like people hear 50,000 words. Some people hear like 300 to 500 words, and they feel like, what? I'm not reading all that. How can I write 1,000 words? So I would say for this, because if you're actually watching this and you're actually listening to me, you actually want to be an author. You actually know who I am. You actually know what I've done. I'm not just some random guy on the internet to you. Like, you are aware of what I'm doing out here. So I want to give you something that's going to be helpful for you and something that you're going to be able to work on. So I'm going to give you some homework, I guess you could say. If you're doing NaNoWriMo, I would say the first challenge is not really what the idea of the book is. I feel like if you already know what your idea for the book is, the book kind of sucks because it's just my idea. You know? When I wrote Noble Nuptials, I had no idea what the fuck was happening. I had never met the characters before. I feel like that might have been a NaNoWriMo project too, but I don't know. Because I wasn't always using this website to track my progress for NaNoWriMo, but I found NaNoWriMo.com. I'm not sponsored by them. I would love to be, but I'm not sponsored by them. Maybe we can do a once-a-year thing or something. But when I wrote Noble Nuptials, I'd never met the characters before. I had no idea who the fuck these people were. I had no idea what the fuck their motivations were. I don't know what the fuck was going on. I don't know what the hell was going to happen next. And I didn't even make chapters. I just kept writing. I just wrote until I had 50,000 words, and I think I kept going. I'm not sure if it's over 50,000 or just a little bit under. Because the story was done at a certain point, I was like, this is it. This is done. Like, they're done. there's no other things that they could possibly do for at least another years from now, like maybe, but like this was a fine conclusion to the story. And then I went back and I added chapters to it way later on in the process of editing and revising. But when I first wrote Noble Nuptials, which is about around 50,000, I would say 35,000, actually I don't remember, I genuinely have no idea. 35,000 to 50,000 words, right around that ballpark. I just wrote it. I didn't stop. I just kept going. I stopped when it felt right for me. And I would say when I first got started, I would like be asking my mom for advice. I'll be asking my partner for advice. I'll be sitting down with my friends. Like, I spent so much time talking to people about my ideas, what I should do in the story, what ideas are going to work for the story, that I didn't spend any time really writing the book. I would have pages and pages and outlines and notebooks and all this kind of shit, but I wouldn't really be sitting down writing the same way that if you weren't at the typewriter, whatever you wrote really kind of mattered in the idea that it probably helped you produce the overall project, but it doesn't count towards you actually finishing the book. So I wasn't really at the laptop, at the computer, getting that work in like I need to. So a lot of my early work really kind of suffered for that. And I remember telling my entire class, but specifically my English professor, I don't like my old writing, you know. I think it's good. I think they're really decent stories. I think it's cool for the time that it was at. I think it's cool for a 20-year-old, you know, and that's what the 20-year-old knows and that's what the 20-year-old does. But people are looking for evolution as you get older. They're looking for maturity. They're looking to see how you've developed. And I would say the only real great development that I do now is that I write like I would like to read it, you know. I'm focused a lot more on the author-writer relationship and that I am not the narrator, you know. I'm the author. The narrator can be one of the characters. The narrator can be you, for all I fucking care. You know, it's whatever fits that mold of that story, you know, as well as the tense that you're going to write it in. Even though third person past tense is if you wanted a best-selling tip and you got this far, third person past tense is the most popular reading format because, I don't know, it just gives the brain a feeling of safety and security that this has already happened and that there's going to be a good ending at the end. Because if it's in past tense, it already happened, and if the character's telling me what happened in past tense, then the character makes it out okay. You know, people love a happy ending versus future tense is more suspenseful. You don't know what's going to happen next. You don't know how the story's going to conclude, and you don't know if you're necessarily going to like the ending because of that, because it hasn't happened yet. It's like living in your reality. That's why historical fiction is very popular. It's already happened, so people can already formulate in their head kind of what is going on because they have their idea of the 1960s or the 1920s or the civil rights movement or Reconstruction. They have their own perspective of that in their head. So when you're writing about that, they can perceive and understand that. When you write fantasy like I write, it's kind of daunting to want to write a lot of the books that I would like to write because a lot of the books I would like to write, a lot of the stories I would like to write, like this one right next to me that I actually might do instead of doing NaNoWriMo this year because I'm like in college. It's a shit ton of it's a crazy amount of work. So doing my actual workload, though right now I am ahead because of this. I have worked very hard over the past 2 weeks, 1.5 week, honestly, 1.3 week, honestly, to finish all my homework assignments that are not due until like the middle of November because I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be focused and fixated on this for whatever period of time, you know, it really takes it. It might be a week, it might be 2 weeks, it might be the whole month. I really don't know. But I think it would behoove people for me to chronicle this, and I think it would behoove me specifically to make more content related to books. I don't really want to discuss relationships. That was the other avenue, is making content about love and relationships. I really don't think I'm that guy. I don't think I'm going to be able to give you any relationship advice. I could give you a bunch of opinions and perspectives and ideas, but I'm not even married, bro. So that's not my fight. That's not my arena or my ring. And I don't want a bunch of single women hitting me up, asking how to get a man. And I'm that guy, because I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy. You know, I love my family. I enjoy my life. I enjoy my penis being attached to my body and not being castrated by my wife. I'm not married, but I'll still call her that because it's public, my wife. Because I enjoy her as a person. She's amazing. But writing is something I've been doing for over a decade now, at least like full time, focused on this, fixated on this. And I think it would help. I think it would be very cathartic to create the content that I needed, But I think it would also be very helpful to new authors out there, more intermediate authors, because now that I'm in college, and I guess like when I first got to college, I kind of got psyched up because I thought these were like the smartest people ever, and everyone's very intelligent in their own way. Everyone has their own strengths, and there's a lot of people smarter than me. But I'm just saying that a lot of people struggle when it comes to writing. They really struggle when it comes to getting their ideas out. But what I see the biggest issue is that a lot of people really struggle with, like, I guess kind of like not judging what they say, not judging what comes out of their mouth, kind of freeing themselves to be expressive, freeing themselves to like tell their truth and tell their story and live out in the open and live in reality, live into what is real. Versus just living in a delusion as, one is wanting to do. What's stopping you from living in a delusion? But if you're going to get... Sorry, I'm playing Raid Shadow Legends. It's probably a good sign that I should end the video if I'm, like, switching over to Raid. So I don't want to just ramble, and I'm losing my voice. So, write your first 5,000 words. That's what I was originally going to say before I got distracted by a whole other things. I'm going to end the video soon. I don't want to be rude. But, like, this is a time-consuming process, so I really want to knock it out real quick. But get your first 5,000 words down. And then I would recommend an outline. I would recommend brainstorming. I would recommend having someone maybe look over your first 5,000 words. And then from there, I would go back a step first, like a middle step, like not a whole, like we just took a step forward. I don't want you to take a step back. But before you step right there, though, there's a thumbtack. So all I'm saying is watch your foot real quick. We're still taking that step forward, but there's a thumbtack, so watch your foot real quick. Look to see how long it took you to make and write 5,000 words. Because you got to do that 10 times. And if it took you a week to write 5,000 words, the spirit of this isn't that you just write 5,000 words, If you write 30,000 words, that's good too. If you write 25,000, that's cool. If you write 20,000, I would say the most important thing for this month, in my perspective, I'm going to write 5,000 words. So I'm saying this for the people that can't. I'm not saying this for me. I'm not saying it for the people that want to write 100,000 words or 200,000 words that people may not ever read. Just mind you. So 3,000 to 5,000, people might give you 3,000 to 5,000 words of their time. People trusting you with 100,000 to 200,000 words of their time and energy and emotional investment, that's a big climb, brother. That's a very big climb. So, write a story that begins, has rising action, has a climax, and has a resolution. Beginning, middle, and end. But the middle has two parts. The rising action, and then the actual climax that's at the top of the middle. But you got to get there, and then you got to resolve it. If you can do that within 30 days, you can finish a story. And then you can do with that what you will. If it takes you 30 days to write 5,000 words, work on that. That's not good, that's not bad, that's just reality. Work on that. It might be a struggle, it might be tough for you, that's fine. But, comparison is the thief of joy. So I would not compare yourself to the efforts of, someone who does this full time, because while I didn't really appreciate it because the people around me don't appreciate it, people that I meet outside of the people that I know in real life really fucking find it amazing that I'm an author. They find it otherworldly, in fact. While other people are just like, well, it's just you, so you're still the same guy. But to other people, it's like, it's hard for them. It's difficult to write. It's not easy. I thought it was. I think it is, like, personally, me. But other people really struggle in this field. They really struggle in this area. And I want to give a very non-condescending, non-patronizing perspective of writing a book. I never thought I would chronicle writing a book, but here we are. We are doing this. We have 0 words written, and I purposely, this might be another thing too, because I gotta like give you the sauce. I don't want to skip any steps for you, So I would also add this as well, because this is gonna sound fucking crazy. The week is not over yet. Tomorrow is the last day. My week starts on Saturday. I've written 2 stories this week. One is longer than the other. One is only about 1 or 2 pages, but it's a start, middle, end. It's more prose. It's entirely prose, more prose poetry, because like I want whatever I write next to show the growth in my writing, but also show that I could have done it the entire time. Like, even if I didn't get better one little tiny iota, I was still capable of it the entire fucking time. I chose to write what I wrote. But I wrote 2 stories to practice this. You don't have time for that anymore. So when you find this a year after I make it, or 5 years after I make it, I actually wrote 2 stories this very week to prepare for this. I think one is only 5,000 words. I'm not using that. I'm not using the other story that I wrote. But just to practice the idea of starting a story, giving a story rising action, giving the story a climax, resolving everything, and then giving it a nice little conclusion button at the end to either write more or to just end it where it's at. And one is a story that is just, that's it. That's it. That's the whole story. That's all that's going to be there, and we're done with it. The other story is probably going to lead to more short stories, because I just had a lot of fun writing it. But I did practice writing 2 stories beforehand, so that's more of a step 0. I don't not recommend it. I feel a lot better having done it, If you're going to take like a final exam, and considering that this is November and next month is December, this is kind of like that final exam for authors, I would say. Like, you've had a whole year of excuses thus far. So if you didn't do shit from January to October, now is your time to shine. Now is your opportunity to step up, write a whole book, and then you can spend the next December through October marketing and promoting and selling your book, but you gotta write it first. And that's what most people struggle with. I don't find authors struggling with, I have ideas for books. I see authors struggling with, I sit down and I write. I see authors struggling with, I have the discipline to sit down for hours on end and focus on one thing. That I might have to turn off my music. I might have to turn off my TV. I might have to walk away from other people and just be by myself to get this thing done, and not getting lost inside of your own mind of judgment. Because honestly, there's 2 things that for people, that being locked in a room with your best friend or your spouse might be the worst experience of your life, but being left alone to your own mind might also be the worst experience of your life. But I would say both of those are kind of the same thing, because being left alone with your spouse or being left alone with your best friend, is kind of like being left alone with, it's your other half. It's your twin flame, you know? So it is like, so it literally is just your mind working against you. And I think for a lot of people, not just authors, but I'm only going to focus on authors in my lifetime. And if I could help other people, then cool. But I think I'm going to just kind of stick to what I'm doing. And I'm going to let other people kind of do what they do. You know what I mean? But I would say for a lot of people, but specifically for authors, I feel like people get way too in their own head. I feel like they create a lot of thoughts and create a lot of emotions that are completely unnecessary. And rather than taking things in a very neutral type of way, where you're neither being aggressive, nor being passive, nor being submissive, nor necessarily being assertive. You just are, and things just are, and it simply just is. It is what it is, you know? You want to write 5,000 words. It's not hard, it's not easy. It's very simple, in fact. A lot of people have done it. That should give you some confidence. But only about 2% of the human population has published what they wrote. So it is what it is. You dig? Alright, so this is way longer than I expected this to be. Let's recap real quick. For the real ones, the realest ones, I will recap for you. I need to take a sip of my drink first. My throat has killed me. For the realest ones, I would highly recommend you do some form of practice in writing an actual story, start, middle, and end. Maybe your story, one story did not have any rising action, it didn't really have any characters. You know, it kind of reminded me of how I started the book Best Friends. With 2 years too long was the first part I ever wrote for Best Friends. So when I revise that, I might make that the first chapter, actually. There are other things written, but when like the book became Best Friends, that was the first piece that was written. And I think that was written before a lot of other stuff, because it wasn't even, when it was written, no, this is before the book became, it was written, this is the prose poetry type piece, it was written, and it just like became this cathartic experience of my romantic life and my romance and what I've been through, and then summing it up with what I wanted next in my life. And that was a spouse that was settling down, starting a family, and, you know, taking on what it is that's necessary for that process, you know. I'm just not super focused on writing right now. To be completely honest with you. And I think that's the reality for a lot of other people too. Like, you're just not super focused on writing. You can tell by like there's all these other ideas in my head. But I would highly recommend it because it also reminds me of that book, so I'm probably not going to write something like it. I could. I don't think it's a good idea. I don't think it's a bad idea, but I think it's kind of cheating because I already wrote it and I already did the same process. So then you get some ideas out when you do that pre-writing. You know, you get to shake off a lot of cobwebs, I felt personally, especially with the first story that I wrote, which was more of a short story and more of an actual story. It had an actual start, middle, and end. You know, it had an actual rising action, an actual climax, and then, like, I had a lot of fun writing it. But it also let me know, like, I can't, and I don't really want to write anymore for these characters right now. I do desire to, but I don't want to. You know, desire for me is more of like a midterm to long-term thing. Want is more of like a midterm to short-term. Like, I might I might be able to wait to want some Chipotle. Like, I want Chipotle, but I could wait next week or next month before I eat Chipotle again. I'm not dying to necessarily have Chipotle tomorrow. You know, if I did, then I would be very grateful. I'd be very satisfied. I would be super duper happy because it happened sooner than I expected. But it also let me know, like, I don't really want to write about these characters right now because everything I've written for NaNoWriMo so far, I have published, or I have been in the process of publishing and making into audiobooks. So this go round, I have the same mindset, same perspective, because I also haven't written a book at all this year either. So it also applies to me that you haven't done shit all year. Now this is your time to shine. You know, I just had other things to focus on, other things to worry about. I did do a 90-day book boot camp, so I can't say I didn't do anything. I've been very focused. But again, that's the life I chose. I do highly recommend that mandatory reading. I know it seems like I'm not on point, but I actually am on point. You have no idea what I'm going to say. I don't know what the fuck I'm going to say. So I remember what I said. I don't know what the fuck's about to come out of my mouth next. So that's why it comes out the way that it does. I don't write a script for this. I'm just cuffing it. I do really recommend that. Like, now that I'm talking about it and I'm explaining it, that pre-write, that NaNoWriMo pre-write is very helpful because now I know what I want to write and I know what I really don't want to write. I wouldn't be able to do that with an outline because I don't have any concrete ideas yet, you know? I did some market research, so I would recommend that as well. I spent today when I was supposed to be taking a nap. I'm supposed to take like a nap every day because I have really fucked up sleep patterns. My chair's broken. It's like the best job I ever had. It was the most fun. I would say it's the most fun I ever had. It wasn't the best job. I was like a dishwasher. And then I was a prep cook. And then I did other things in the kitchen. Like cooking. Breakfast shift. I wasn't a dab, but that was like an inadvertent dab. That's what I had to do to write, man. It was like the early days of writing. I think maybe that's why it was so fun, is that I wanted to write back then. And it was still like a vision, it was still a dream, but it wasn't like a realized thing quite yet. So I did market research today on the bestsellers, all the bestsellers of 2024. You know, I probably could have done something more specific to a niche that I write in, but I want to be famous and rich now. I always did, but for a period of time, I really didn't give a shit about it. But I looked at the best sellers of 2024. I took notes on all of them. I would recommend that if you are an intermediate author, you probably do that research in niche and in genre, because once I pick a genre and pick a niche, I'm going to have to therefore do this process all over again. And it took me hours. It took me some fucking time. It took me some time. You know, it was not a quick process. It probably took less than 5 hours. I think I got done around maybe like 1, started at 9, maybe 12:30ish I got done. So 3.5 hours, maybe 3 hours. You know, I probably could have focused a little more. Like, if I was going to do the process over again, it was my first time doing that specifically what I did. It's not my first time researching for books. That's not what I'm saying. But the method that I use now of not having any idea what to write, not having any idea what genre I was in, I looked up the top 15 books or so of 2024 thus far. In the middle of my research, the data updated, and then 2 new books entered into the fray out of nowhere. All the other books I knew, it had to be a website update, because all the other books were the same besides like two or so. So I got those down as well. I took some notes about them, kind of just deciphered like what's selling right now, what's popular, who's popular. So if I wanted to do further research, and if you read fast, you could probably take a week off, write like 500 words a day, 1,000 words or so a day, or 5,000 words a day. You know, if you could write 5,000 words a day, this is going to be easy for you. But you have to have a really good idea as to what to write. So if I really wanted to study, I do have a few names on that list that I could look into and study. But ironically, none of the best-selling books were anything that I would ever pick up and read. Like, even seeing them as a bestseller, they were not books that I would, I'm not going to name drop or call them out or anything, but they just were not books that I would personally care about at all. And it's cool, because they all kind of looked very similar, and they all kind of looked like they were, in fact and indeed, like, based off the research, all very, very similar books. They were all very similar. Maybe that'll be the second video. The second video, I'll go over, like, my market research, maybe. Or maybe how I utilize my market research. I'm not going over the process that I used. I have another video about that somewhere on the internet that you can find. If I can find it before you, then I'll link it or something. But then you get to the 5,000 words. So that pre-write is very powerful. It's very powerful. Do not use the pre-write to continue writing into November. Do not do it. It's not cheating. It's just, it's not going to make you feel good. It's not going to be the utmost, like, integrity, because you're going to know that you didn't start writing that in November. You didn't even wait till the first day, so please try not to use it. Just make it its own story if you're watching this a year from now. If you're watching this tomorrow, I mean, there's a possibility that I'm going to post it, like, immediately after this too, so I would still say tomorrow. But I would probably bank on posting it tomorrow. On actual November 1st, like, that's probably when I'm going to post it. But I'm actually making this on Halloween, October 31st. Every time I see 10, I think December, because Deca is 10, October 31st, and then Octo is 8, you know? Like, it doesn't make any fucking sense. But it won't make you feel good if you did that. I would, if that helped you out doing the pre-write, or if you didn't do it at all, you can also skip that step if you don't really, if you're already daunted at the idea of making 25,000 to 5,000 words, I would not recommend doing a pre-write, because it's not going to help you. It's probably going to hinder you more than it's going to help you, and it's probably just going to dissuade you from finishing out the rest of the month. I would probably just wait, save up your ideas like a bottle rocket or a Malta cocktail, and then once you start writing, just set yourself ablaze and don't stop until it's all put out. Don't actually do that in real life. Don't actually harm yourself in any way, shape, or form in real life. Take care of yourself. Love yourself properly. Get sleep, for sure. But once you have, like, an idea of what you kind of want to do, if you're a rookie, I give some intermediate advice. If you're a rookie, it doesn't really matter what genre you're in, because you don't have a genre. You don't even have a book yet, so just finish. It don't matter. If you were intermediate, though, do it in your niche. Do it in your niche. Whatever genre you plan to write in, do your market research in your niche. Save yourself the time. Save yourself the energy. What other people are doing is completely irrelevant to you. Figure out what your market is interested in. Figure out what your market likes. and then you can write to your market. You can build an author-reader relationship that way by looking at what is already popular with people, and maybe even sometimes I'll even look at the worst selling books or the worst reviewed books to see what not to fucking do, you know? And I don't always read all this stuff, but I look more so at the marketing, because I feel like what's inside the book doesn't even really matter, because a lot of people buy books and never fucking read them. They just want to own them. They just want to possess the books. That's why like a lot of books have become artwork. Like back in the day, books had very plain covers, and then over time, the books became more grasping. They became art pieces. They became like decorations to show that you are an intellectual, to have a bunch of books that you've never read before. Because other people don't even have books. And you got books you never read. It's like a feeling of abundance, you know? It's a feeling of abundance. I don't know. It's a word for that. All right, I'm done. If this keeps going on, I'm not going to want to make another video for like a while. And I think with that too, like I'm not going to make these videos every day either. When I have something to say and I feel like I've made some progress, or like I actually feel like it, then I will write. I was going to say like make a video, but I said write. I'm going to write regardless. I'm going to write with discipline. I would like to become a film like editor or video editor, but that is not today, and that is not this month. So I'm probably not going to be making these videos every day. It was very like clandestine that I even press record now and today, because I'm really fucking exhausted. You may not be able to tell it, but I'm really fucking tired. First 5,000 words. That's what I was looking for. I was looking for that. First 5,000 words. Alright, good luck to you. Because it's not easy. But other people have done it already, so it can't be that hard because other people do it. But most people don't. And most people can't. So give yourself more credit. Be more patient with yourself. And just focus, you know? This is about discipline. This isn't about really enjoying the process. You need to enjoy what you write. You don't need to enjoy the process of it, because it's work. Do you enjoy being in a coal mine? No. Do you enjoy laying brick? No. Do you enjoy landscaping? Sometimes, but sometimes not. It's work. And I think people want it to just be fun, and aspects of it are going to be fun. What you create and what you write should be the fun part. The process of it all is work. And I think a lot of people quit because they start to feel how much work it is. And because it's a lot more work than they thought it was going to be, they give up. I went into this already knowing how difficult it was going to be, how long it was going to take. And I didn't know necessarily what was going to be needed of me or necessary, but I knew what I was not willing to do. So by knowing what I was never going to allow people to do to me, and I was never going to participate in, I knew that I had to work my ass off, because I wasn't going to just get the nepotism or just get the corporation behind me. Like, I have to do it myself. I have to bootstrap the entire thing. And that's just me, you know. You don't have to do that. That's just me. But that has been me. And I don't know. I don't know if I'll do this weekly. I don't know if I'm just checking on my schedule right now. I don't know if I'll do this every so. I'll promise you this. I'm not making any other video. I'm not recording any audiobook until my throat heals. Like, my throat, right now, it's not as bad. I took a drink of my tea, and, like, I feel a lot better. But I'm not making anything else until my throat heals audio related because, it hurts. But NaNoWriMo was in like 2 hours. It's almost like an hour and 10 minutes now because the video is 45 minutes. It's like an hour and 10 minutes now that it's going to be. I'm so tired. But I wanted to get this in. Like, even if I wasn't going to post it tonight, even if I wasn't going to look it over to check to see for the parts that I liked and didn't like, which I'm probably not going to do anyway, but I should start doing if I want to, like, I'm monetized, but actually making money off of this, gotta raise my quality, Today was not that day. The point of today was not that. And, when I come back with all my gear and I come back with all my equipment, then cool, you'll have a deeper appreciation for this because you would see the production style versus just the first draft. And I think this is what this is going to be called. The rough draft phase. NaNoWriMo. Something like that. And then whatever TubeBuddy changes it into. Peace out, y'all. Peace, family. Be well.